I guess just like each night reading through all these kids like texting me saying, "Hi Nate, when I grow up I want to be just like you." Like it really has made my year. I'd say it's like one of the highlights of my life so far. But I guess that's also, like why I keep doing what I'm doing, just seeing all these people that look up to me. Have an idea, wake up, text your best friend. So I had this really cool idea about, like on social media, you see a lot of things, a lot of like negative news. How can we as young people kind of like leverage the power that social media has to kind of create change? Like TikTok's amazing, like a lot of things that happen on there, like advocacy work.
Kia ora e hoa koutou, haere mai ki te kōrero, te ara whānui ki te rangi. Ko Oscar toko ingoa. I'm here with Luca and Nate. Kia ora kōrua.
Kia ora.
Nate, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. So kia ora koutou katoa, ko Nate Wilbourne tōku ingoa. So my name's Nate Wilbourne. I'm a 17-year-old who comes from Whakatu Nelson in New Zealand. I'm a youth conservation and climate justice advocate. I currently study at an international boarding school over in Germany. In the last few years, I've done a lot of conservation mahi in my community. And that looks like, I guess, grassroots campaigning for climate justice, working with forest and bird youth, helping save some of New Zealand's most rare and endangered bird species. A lot of also national and international campaigning for climate justice and conservation. And I guess now I'm a bit of youth advocate who speaks up for Rangatahi across Aotearoa and across the world, that international platform. So I'm based over in Europe now, back here in Aotearoa though for a little bit. So yeah, I've had the absolute privilege to, I guess, see some amazing parts of the world, to do my mahi and stand up for what I believe in. So yeah, kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Nate. Now, you listed quite a bit of the things
Yeah, wow.
you're part of, and I'm sure the list goes on as well. And I'm really interested in hearing your answer for this because I'd like some inspiration myself.
Totally.
So what made you go from caring about the climate to actually doing something about it?
Great question.
It's a really good question. Well, I guess so for me, it kind of started off when I was in primary school. So I grew up in a little rural town called Brightwater, kind of south of Nelson, I guess. I went to a rural primary school. And I guess a lot of the things we did at school, we lived by a river called the Wairoa River. So when I was a kid, we used to go to the Wairoa River. We used to, do some tree planting. It was a part of a program called, I think it was Fonterra and Milk for Schools. But we'd go to this local river every once in a while and, plant some trees. And I guess kind of doing that, we learned a lot about the local environment because we were replanting farmland and stuff. So there's a lot about things like the runoff, so how pollution runs off from farmlands into the rivers and how there's this, insane. So little 8-year-old me, I guess, kind of found that quite inspiring. Was wow, actually there's a lot of damage that we're doing to, our taiao. And I was I can do something about that. So I guess, when I was 8, I kind of did a lot more, reading, watching some David Attenborough documentaries, as you do. Lovely guy.
Icon.
Absolute. And I guess just from then I learned a lot more about climate change and how us humans do a lot more to our planet. I guess I felt I've gotten, I'm kind of, it's up to me, as a young person, it's my future. Should be fighting for it, I guess. So I started to try and find ways to get involved. I guess when I was 12, I found a lot of setbacks. I kept emailing my local council being hi guys, my name is Nate, I'm 12. How can I get involved? How can I come plant some trees? How can I come trap some pests?
Yes.
And I got a lot of turn downs because of health and safety, great stuff. But I guess I just kept on fighting. And I guess trying to find opportunities, and that's when I found Forest and Bird Youth when I was 13, which is an organisation that is for 14 to 25-year-olds across Aotearoa who want to get involved in conservation. And they kind of took me on board and was look, we're here to support you. And I guess just from then, just from having a passion and just, keeping up the consistency of trying to find ways I can get involved, did I actually end up doing something, and that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
Good on you.
Awesome.
I really want to acknowledge your initiative to to look out for all of those opportunities and to keep putting yourself out there in front of council, even if they say no.
Yeah.
And then also finding other platforms to help support your mahi. Forest and Bird Youth do a lot of great mahi to help platform and support and encourage young people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Absolutely. That's huge mahi. There's so many things about your mahi that I'd love to keep chatting to you about.
Totally.
Your youth engagement and your involvement in politics, and also your relationship to climate. I'd be curious to learn heaps about all of those things. Do you have any questions, bro?
Well, I'd just like to say, you're definitely really lucky that you went to, when you were little, you went to a school that actually allows you to get your hands dirty and do physical conservation. But then growing up, what's one moment that really stuck with you and reminded you why all of this matters?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's been a lot of moments throughout my life.
Great.
I guess one of my highlights so far would have been last year when I got the privilege to speak at National Young Leaders Day. So it
Wow.
would have been like May to June last year. I was one of, I think, like 5 or 6 keynote speakers that got a tour Aotearoa.
Great.
And we got to speak in front of about, I think it was 12,000 like students that were aged, I don't know, like 5 to 12. So like, Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington. And I guess, like at that event, I talked about like my entire life journey to where I am today. So like, all this conservation mahi and whatnot. And at the end of that, hearing all these little kids come up to me at the very end, they're like, "Nate, can I have a photo? Can I have your autograph?" I was like, what the heck? It was so overwhelming, but it was so inspirational. And after that, just seeing all these kids all like sliding into my DMs like crazy. I go home, all these like 12-year-olds like, "Nate, you're so inspirational." And I guess just like each night reading through all these kids like texting me saying, "Hi Nate, when I grow up, I want to be just like you."
Yes.
Like it really, really has made my year. I'd say it's like one of the highlights of my life so far. But I guess that's also, like why I keep doing what I'm doing, just seeing all these people that look up to me.
Definitely.
That's
yeah.
amazing. I think that's great. I can see why they'd see a role model in you for sure.
Yeah.
And for you to have that much reach, and particularly with youth demographics, I think is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
do you say 12,000 people across the whole mutu?
Yeah,
Wow.
12,000 students that were school age, so still in primary, intermediate age. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
Wow. Has that, like, having had that experience, has that platformed into other experiences as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. Often little like teachers and principals were there, and I got messages from them saying, "You're amazing. Come down at some point." So that's quite cool. I've got a lot of connections to schools now. I guess also like the other keynote speakers were some incredible people. We had Kahukura the Māori Millionaire. We had William Pike with the William Pike Challenge. Brooke Neal, who's a ex-New Zealand hockey player, among other speakers. So it's just like being with these people who. Like, I was, like, such imposter. I was like, what the heck am I doing here? This, like, kid, it's just, like, at high school still, and there's, like, like, Olympic sports people and all these other people, and I was like, what the heck? But it was pretty cool. I guess also it gave me a lot more confidence, and, like, it kind of reminded me, why I do what I do, and also was like, I can do this, I'm already here. I need to keep fighting, and, like, I've got it to this stage already, I can keep going.
Absolutely.
I
I can
guess,
totally
yeah.
see why you would be given that platform.
Yeah.
And I think,
Thank
like,
you.
part of, like, getting those experiences and meeting more collaborators is learning from them too, because there's so much people with great mahi
Yeah.
behind them and great experience, and learning from those people is really important.
Yeah, totally agree.
With all the stuff that you do, like, I'm sure it all adds on, and you, like, you got to deal with burnout and all of that.
Oof, yeah.
But, like, on top of that, there's the climate crisis, injustice, everything. So how do you stay grounded or find hope, especially when it feels like adults aren't listening?
Oh, that is such a good question. And burnout is one of those things which I've definitely hit by. And I think I still am in burnout, even though I had a good 10-year break overseas, kind of got to like leave all the stuff behind. I guess like I read, you read the news every single day, you see what's going on in the world. There's some, disgusting things.
The world is changing quickly.
It's changing very quickly. And it looks very unhopeful in the current state of the world. But I think just knowing that like, it's up to us. Like, there's no other option. Like either we do something about it or we don't. Like, it's a decision that we have to make. And there is so much potential out there. I think also being at a school in Germany. So I go to a school that's got 200 other people from across the world. I think like
Wow.
86 different countries. So these young people also come kind of like-minded to me, and just seeing and hearing about their mahi and all these other different countries. And then I guess like I feel a lot more hopeful. Seeing my friends in Turkey. There's a friend in Turkey who has his own business where he's found a way to like, I don't know, he's some scientist guy, but like with watermelons, like change like something with watermelons to make like some kind of soft plastic that's biodegradable. Like there's amazing things. And just seeing that like actually there's a lot of people out there and it's not just me. Like Luca for one as well is doing such amazing mahi with Forest
you.
Bed Youth. Among other things, you've got a lot of
Absolutely.
potential. So just seeing there's a lot of other young people out there who keep the fight up, I guess also reminds me that not all hope is lost.
I think that's such a good answer. Like, there's so many people doing a lot of great mahi, like both of you, and so like people locally and internationally. There's so many people doing great mahi. I think it's really important that we connect those efforts and promote them to let everyone know what's happening, because there's so much amazing mahi out there.
Yeah, totally. It's a big world.
It's a huge world. It's a huge world,
Yeah.
and it's a small world at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you find that you, like, working in the climate space and the politics space, that you see more and more familiar faces the more you're involved in it?
Yes, 100%. I think as well in like the youth kind of climate space, like going to international conferences, I look to the people that are speaking, like, oh, I know that person, I've spoken with them before. Like it's quite not limited, but I say there's a lot of people which are like well-known figures, you know, that like work for, I don't know, like sustainable development goals or like whatever they do. I think also it's quite funny seeing a lot of Kiwis. Like I was over in Hamburg in northern Germany a couple months ago for another conference about like the future of international environmental law.
Wow.
And there was a Kiwi guy there who's living in Prague. And I was like, oh my God, it's like home, you know, seeing this Kiwi guy that's doing a lot of stuff about like peace and international law. Like, I think the world, is so small, and just seeing people reminds you of home when, you know, you see them again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think like environmental law is so important. We need a platform there. Absolutely. I think New Zealand, generally speaking, hits above our weight in a lot of ways. Like we're a pretty small town, you know, it's a pretty small country comparatively, but we hit on the world stage and we represent on the world stage. I think one of the other interesting things about that in Wellington is that there's a lot of world leaders and world players that are doing the mahi from Wellington.
Yeah.
And it's really accessible once you start engaging with those communities and those people. They're often really willing to share their knowledge or take you under their wing or collaborate.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How have you found that experience kind of navigating and building your professional development?
I'd say one of my biggest lessons is like networking. I think networks are so incredibly important. And LinkedIn, guys, LinkedIn is so underrated.
Underrated for sure.
I think without LinkedIn, I would not be here today. Like,
For sure.
it's a way that you can like get connections, talk to people that are like, I guess like in your industry as they call it, and just like keep up connections. And I think, like also agree. I think like I've got connections across the world on LinkedIn, also on social media and just like, you know, other bits and places. But without this like network of support and just like seeing people post about their mahi and just, you know, like the support button and all of the really like, you know, NPC LinkedIn comments, like, you know, wow, congratulations, Nate, for your new role. But like besides all of that, I think it's a really cool space. And I think, networking is something which has taught me a lot.
It's a skill unto itself.
It is. And I think once you master it, I think you will go places. Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the relationship building that helps to gain momentum and create action.
Yeah.
Networking is a super important part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had like so many random doctors from like the States just add me on LinkedIn.
Really?
Like, why me? How do you know me?
I mean, it's a good thing, you know. You're known in the USA now in the doctor industry, so take what you will.
Yeah.
And people are seeing the mahi that you guys are doing, like through Forest and Bird Youth, through like GenZ and platforms like that. Like there's so many ways to be visible.
Yeah.
Would you want to speak to any of your engagement with any of those platforms? Like
like anything in particular or like
TEDx or GenZ or any of those platforms if you've collaborated with them?
Yeah, I mean, little flex here, but when I was 14, I gave a TEDx talk.
14?
I was 14 years old.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was in 2022. This is kind of when I was working a lot with Forest and Bird Youth, and I was like kind of really getting going. And it was a TEDx Nelson event, and they kind of like, I read about it on Facebook. I was like, you know what, like, you know, I can do this. I can give a TEDx talk. So I applied, got in. I think it was maybe like, I don't know, 12, 15 speakers. They were all like business entrepreneurs doing some amazing things. And then there's like Nate. And like the bio was like, Nate Wilbourne was a 14-year-old from Nelson, Tasman. And I was like, this is like, what the heck?
With 6 years experience in tree planting by then already.
Yeah, like it's my CV was like 6 years of tree planting, 6 years at primary school, you know, like I had a pretty stacked out CV, I'd say, for a 14-year-old. But that stage, that was like, I guess like the opening for me for like the international stage. Even though I was at home, you know, TEDx, I think it's got like 39 million subscribers on YouTube, which like, there's like, like 100+ videos published a day, but still I'm on that platform, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess also like I knew that people across the world had seen it and it's accessible to people across the world. So that was something which not many 14-year-olds get the privilege to do.
Yeah.
And I guess, like with GenZ Aotearoa. So I founded that organization January last year. So it was one of those, you know, like 3 a.m. thoughts when you're like watching TikTok, go to sleep, have an idea, wake up, text your best friend. So I had this really cool idea about, you know, like on social media, you see a lot of things, a lot of like negative news. How can we as young people kind of like leverage the power that social media has to kind of create change? Like TikTok's amazing. Like a lot of things can happen on there, like advocacy work. So I did a lot of like research and I guess found this organization which started off doing that, like we were like creating reels on TikToks about like, I don't know, like bills in the house or like contemporary issues, global and both local. And it's evolved now to being one of the largest growing youth organisations here in New Zealand.
That's huge.
And we focus a lot more now about how can we engage young people in their communities to kind of give them support and resources and networks to go to their communities and just find ways that they can make change from their passions.
That's a huge answer.
Yeah.
Would you mind expanding a little bit more on how you use social media to kind of facilitate that, like, cohesion and that coordination? Because social media, I think, is a double-edged sword. Like, it's its own art form as well, and there's some risks to be aware of.
Totally, like a lot of harm can happen on social media. Things like, bullying, like you name it. I think for me, like I, have platforms on TikTok, Instagram, picking on TikTok as well. What I like to do is like, I guess my niche is kind of like posting contemporary issues. So particularly around like climate and like conservation here in New Zealand, but also in the world. So like a lot of educational stuff to talk about, I kind of break stuff down. Like I break down like, legislation or bills to like normal English language,
It's entirely shrouded in jargon.
It is. And even I read these things and I'm like, kind of tweaking. And I guess just from there, like, how can we then mobilize people and people, like inspire them, educate them, and then, then what? Find a way to kind of funnel them to go and either make a submission, sign a bill, sign a petition somewhere, join a local organization, attend an event. So it's an art, I'd say. How can we also like engage people? Because I think with social media as well, we've got such bad attention spans. Like within 2 seconds, people stop if you're not hooked. So like you got to hook people in quick. Skip out the whole "Kia ora, I'm Nate Wilbourne." Instead, just be like, "Have you heard about?" Or
The
"Did you know?"
is really important for these reasons.
It is like the hook is the most important bit. So it is an art, but I think like I definitely have a platform, and I think for me, I have such a privilege to have a platform, and like what I do with it, of course, is my choice, and I think that I choose to, speak up for those that can't. So both young people and our taiao, our environment, and I guess just find a way then to fight for change.
I love all of that. I think that's so important. That's so important on so many levels. Like using the social media, helping expand people's awareness and engagement and ways that they can get involved. I think that's awesome. There's so many things I'd love to keep chatting about with that.
Yeah. So you've gone from TEDx Nelson
Yeah.
to speaking on social media about like global contemporary climate, social issues.
Yeah.
And now you're the hottest topic on the news.
Yeah.
Right. So and you spoke about censorship at Parliament. Can you take us into that moment and what was going through your mind at the time when you were like when you were faced with all that censorship?
Yeah. So a little bit of context. So Youth Parliament, which I'm a youth MP for. I'm the youth MP for the Labour MP Damien O'Connor. So it's once in every 3 years, like 120 or 123 youth MPs kind of get to go to Parliament for a few days and sit in the House. We get to sit in our MP seats and just, debate and like kind of bring the voices of our communities to the House to like discuss them. So it's pretty cool being, I mean, usually it's live streamed, but this year here it wasn't live streamed to Parliament TV, but normally, young people have a chance to speak up and kind of be heard, nationally. So kind of, I guess what I got to do is I got to give a 3-minute speech in the general debate. So I chose to do my speech about the government's war on nature, things about like the Flat-Track Approvals Bill, how they're amending certain laws in New Zealand, like the Wildlife Law or Act, and I guess just, the kind of the assault on nature. So kind of the whole process behind this is that we kind of got a lot of information beforehand, kind of saying, like for your speeches, you have to be politically neutral. You're not allowed to name, shame, or blame, like, anybody. That includes government ministers. So I was kind of like saying, right, we're here to like kind of give a voice to our community about what affects them. And if we're not allowed to hold the government accountable, then like, what are we doing here?
It's the whole point of it.
It's literally the whole point.
Huge. Absolutely.
Exactly. So we were a little bit frustrated, and then there's also like a youth parliament chat. Everyone's like, what the heck, this is not right. So we kind of emailed back, a couple of us emailed back to, before this. So we had our speeches, so I wrote my speech. I had to like email it to them, and they had to like review it. And then they kind of went through and cut out about a third of my speech. Wrote back with an email saying, we've cut out this bit because it isn't politically neutral. You're naming and shaming, government ministers. You could be up for defamation. And there was a lot of stuff. And I was like, what the heck?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. So that was
to the deep
that.
end.
And then a lot of other young people also like, what the heck? I got a similar email some of us emailed back saying, hey, look, this isn't right. I'm going to like say what I want to say. And also in this email that we got, the subject line had changes required. So like, it's kind of giving off like it's mandatory. You know, you have to do this change. You have to say what we've been giving you. We're not suggesting it. It's more of like a
It's not a dialogue or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So we all felt like, okay, this is not really what we're here for. So we went back to like the project team, and they were like, oh, you know, say what you want to say. We're just looking out for you. But it was really like kind of muddy what they were kind of getting at. Like, were they trying to say this is your speech, or say what you want to say, but you know, you're on your own. If you get sued, you get sued. So then we kind of, because I work for a lot of organisations such as Make It 16, GenZ Aotearoa, a couple other youth MPs do, and we were like, you know, like, we've got an opportunity to actually speak up, and we've got to do something pretty much.
And all really profound and legitimate platforms.
Yeah, exactly. So we did. So what we did is we wrote a press release, and we got a lot of other youth MPs to kind of like be signatories and spokespeople behind it. And we went to the media, because we already did speak to NYD. We either got ghosted or we got copy and paste email reply saying, you know, what everyone else has been told, which is, you know, we're just looking out for you. And then, yeah, we were like, you know, we're going to go to the media about it. We got the media's attention. So, yeah, we were interviewed for stuff for TVNZ, Renews, for Kata Māori. So it was pretty cool, I guess, being platformed on national TV to speak up for my community, not once, but twice, you know.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, we were heard. We got a lot of attention. I think we were winning the media as well. Everybody was on our side saying it's not okay, you know. They're here to speak up for us, for our communities. Let them speak, you know. They're like in the house. They're meant to be like young politicians. So it was pretty buzzy, to be honest. I guess being on TV and Z as well. But like, I'm really glad that we did. I think we definitely pressured the Minister for Youth, who had to release a couple of press statements. So did Ministry for Youth Development. They eventually acknowledged as well a couple of days ago that they, you know, were in the wrong, and that the language wasn't really clear about this. But, you know, I know that we were still being censored, and we were being silenced because I think that they were pretty scared that the most politically active young people were going to speak up against the government, which we did still. So they were trying to silence us, but we weren't silent because that's not who we are.
I really respect that. I think accountability is accountability, and then especially those in power need to take responsibility for that accountability.
Exactly.
And I think there's a few different topics that I'd love to ask you more about.
Yeah.
What is something adults overlook about youth is one of those things. And then I suppose the second part of that is, how can society better support youth?
Totally. I think often we're underlooked, and there's a lot of stereotypes. You know, we're seen as, I don't know, ram raiding or dropping out of school. Exactly, yeah. But like, I think what can be done to better support us is actually give us the right to vote. There's a whole lot of campaigning by an organisation called Make It 16, who are campaigning to lower the voting age to 16. A couple of years ago, I went to the Supreme Court, which found that it was a violation of the Bill of Rights Act, so essentially a breach of a human right, that us 16, 17-year-olds are not allowed to vote in New Zealand. Also, I guess being in Germany, where 16-year-olds can vote in the EU elections, like, it's so much different. Like, young people actually care. I mean, we all do care here in New Zealand, but like, they actually get a say.
You've got a platform for agency.
Exactly, and they actually get a say in, you know, policies that are going to be shaping their future. And also, it therefore, I guess, makes like parties and politicians have another audience they have to appeal to, which means that they actually then think about young people, because, like, you know, they're voting for them as well. There's a lot of votes there which they can win. So yeah, and I think giving us the right to vote is one of the huge things, because also, like, everybody's got different diversity of, you know, opinions and political views, and there's no like requirement to have a certain amount of views. You know, you look at an 18-year-old or a 98-year-old, you know, both have got the same amount of diversity of thoughts and opinions. I just think that we like to think about the future when it comes to these decisions. So yeah, I think that giving us the right to vote is a huge step forward, and I think will also give us more opportunities to be involved in democracy, because at the minute I think we're often silenced and overlooked.
I think that's a fascinating answer for a massive topic.
Yeah.
I guess I was, for the model in Germany, when they make it 16, is it like mandatory for 16-year-olds to vote, or do they just have an open door to vote if they want to?
It's more of an open door, so it's a mandatory, because I know some other countries, like in Australia, not 16-year-olds, but like 18 plus, you know, like you have to vote. It's like a legal requirement. But I guess just like young people, you know, they make informed decisions, which we would do as well if we could vote, but they actually have the opportunity to kind of prove that in a way.
I think it's really interesting what you said, like having a legitimate youth political platform does multiple things, like makes youth more engaged, gives them agency to respond, but it also means that politicians have to account for youth as stakeholders and demographics to appeal to.
Exactly.
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I guess I had one other youth-related question. Like, why is, I mean, you've already touched on a lot of it, but why is youth leadership and decision-making important to include in politics?
Well, I think that, like decisions that are being made today in the House are going to be affecting us the most, whether it's, housing, mental health, the climate crisis, like whatever's discussed in there is going to affect us either now or when we're their age. And I think it's only right that we get a say, to be honest, because, they're making decisions, have questions about our future. So, like, why can't we have a say, like, it's kind of unjustified, really. So, yeah.
I think I fully agree. I fully agree. You guys are 100% of our future, and we need to invest in that.
Yeah, we're 10% of today, but 100% of tomorrow. So,
I reckon we change it up a little bit.
Go for it.
What's something people might not know about you? Like, who is Nate behind public speaking and protesting?
Okay, I think a pretty fun fact about me is that you can play almost like any Aotearoa bird species, like bird call, and I could like recount it.
Really?
That's a huge skill.
I'm a bit of a bird nerd, to be honest.
That's a huge skill. You're an ornithologist.
Yeah, I know.
We're trying that later.
Yeah, okay, try me. That's can I do?
That's solid. That's an awesome skill set.
Yeah.
Now, last thing before we wrap up. If you were to give 1 minute to speak to every rangatahi in Aotearoa, what would you say?
I'd say stay true to yourself, I think at the end of the day, like it's your future. And, whether you choose to engage in it or not, your future's there waiting for you. Don't be put off by what other people say. We've got a big thing in Aotearoa with tall poppy syndrome. People don't think that they, are skilled enough or that they, feel like they're in the right spaces. But no, like, if it feels right to you, if it's something that you care about, you should stand up for it no matter like what comes your way. And that, like find your why, find why you're passionate about certain things, what you want to do, and just keep up the fight, ake, forever. Because, you only got one shot at life, so make the most of it.
Kia kaha. I think that's awesome. I really want to acknowledge your initiative to like engage with all of that, to learn those lessons, to put yourself in those opportunities, and even if you don't know the answer, to learn the answer later and to meet those people. I think, I just really want to acknowledge how proactive you're being to be involved and to put yourself in the room, I think that's a really important skill. Absolutely. Is there anything else? We have one last question for you, I think, and this is from our last guest. This is what our handy book is for. Yeah. This is, from last time, and then you'll be able to ask our next guest a question.
Oh, that's exciting.
We have, my question for you is, what will you do for our rangatahi/young people to ensure their voices are heard?
That's a good question. That also kind of fits like all the mahi that I do. I think just advocate, speak up. Speak out. I think often, we're told to speak up, but not too loudly, to engage, but only symbolically, and to, just not challenge the status quo. So I think just doing all of those things that I said not to do. So challenge the status quo, speak up, speak out, and I guess, just be a voice for those that don't have the opportunity to have a voice like myself on international platforms and on social media. Yeah.
That's another massive answer for another great question. And there's so many other things that we'd love to chat to you about, like your fertility and climate and politics and youth advocacy and all of those things. Unfortunately, we've run out of time on our podcast today, so we're going to have you back on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And especially throughout your career, it'll be very interesting to see how all of that develops. Absolutely. But unfortunately, that's all the time we've got for today. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks for being on board. It's such a cool opportunity, such a cool kaupapa you guys have as well, and such a privilege, to be able to be here, sit with both of you today, and share my whakaaro. So, thank you so much.
Kia ora. And for our listeners, we'll be interested to hear what you think in the comments. Thanks so much.